Um, her website is the Designosaur. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Hey, welcome, Julia.
Thanks.
So we just have some questions for you about your project and about kind of your artistic kind of history. So if you don't mind, we'll get started. Leah has the first question.
Yeah. So we want to start out just by hearing a little bit about how you got started and about your past, maybe about who some of your influences were, and then talk about your piece for Streetwise last year.
Awesome, great. So I've always known I was going to be an artist ever since I was a little kid. But in high school, I decided to go the graphic design route because I wanted kind of more stable job. So I went to CSU for graphic design. And then after that, I worked at several design agencies in and around Boulder, including Vermilion and Anthem Branding. And about a year and a half ago, I went full-time freelance. And then I ended up getting into murals and being super excited that that was an option, you know, and getting to do a lot more artistic expression and just, yeah, I really feel like I've blossomed into that just very recently, and it's super, super exciting. I'm so happy to be on this path. I think that a big turning point for me was getting to do crush walls last year. That was my first like big spray paint mural, and then got to do Streetwise very soon after that. And so just super exciting to be getting to do these like totally new, like really self-expressive murals. And yeah, I'm really excited about where that's taken me and where I'm going with it. So yeah.
Leah, do we have an image of that crush walls?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Should be on my murals page somewhere. Yeah, it's the Jellyfish one. So I worked on this collab with A Rose Art. We both worked on this piece, and it was just so awesome and so fun. Definitely my biggest piece up till that point, and really getting to work on such a large scale in the style that I'm most comfortable with and most known for, I guess, was really exciting.
What scale is that wall?
So that one is about 30 feet wide by 16 feet tall. Yeah.
And what's the largest piece you did prior to that piece?
Well, I had painted my basement, and that was probably, I guess all told, that was probably about 40 or 50 feet long, but only 8 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, you can see the basement with the crazy tiger and
oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so it goes around.
Is that like a music room?
Yeah.
Are you in a band?
Yeah, it's like
Just played
like
the drums?
music. My husband is a musician. He's a guitarist, and so that's like the music and dance room. So it's pretty awesome.
Can you talk about that imagery in your basement a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So we love to dance, we love to make music, we love contemplating the enormity of the universe. So all of those things kind of came together, and I wanted to create a space that was really immersive, that could kind of transport you somewhere. And so that that eclipse that you see in the center there, when all the lights are off, it actually has a sound reactive LEDs behind the eclipse that make it light up and light up the entire room with different colors to a dance beat, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, we like to say that that big tiger and the Valkyrie woman are like the gods of party, or the gods of dance. Music, so kind of an inspiring fun thing there.
Yeah, that's really great. I think it's always interesting what artists' personal work they have in their own live space. Because out of all the things we make, there's I'm imagining not all of the work is like the right vibe for like live space.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely have to tone myself down for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's.
Can we look at it?
You get to be as colorful.
Can we pull up the piece? Yeah. Can we pull up the piece from Streetwise last year? What's the location of that piece? What are the streets?
So it's over near Folsom Pearl and Foothills. It's by the Scarpa warehouse building.
Uh-huh.
It's on the retaining wall, kind of opposite of that building. So it's a really cool, like long area for this piece, which was pretty fun to work with, and that constraint of like having something long. So that was interesting.
Do you title your murals?
I called this one "Eyes to the Future" because of the text that was next to it that Robin painted, with that quote from Greta Thunberg. It says, "The eyes of future generations are upon you," I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There it is.
Yeah, and just how that kind of tied in with my part of the piece with the woman looking toward, the space and that quote as well. So my main idea for my part of this piece was to focus on women's gender roles and beauty standards and how that is super limiting. That the woman on the right that's in black and white, if you go to that part of it, that's representing kind of the more traditional gender roles, the more traditional ways that women are supposed to be beautiful, and how that really limits self-expression. And she's crying golden tears, like we're expected to be beautiful even when we're in despair, which I think is so sad. And these black roses with the golden thorns, and it's beautiful, but it's also so painful and restrictive. So that's contrasting with the left part of the piece with the woman who's in these super vibrant colors and the gold coming back in, but here it's a lot more hopeful, and she's looking to the future, feeling optimistic and limitless, instead of being tied up in all of these gender roles that were
What are the marks on her face that we see coming down and on the top?
Yeah, so I like to put a lot of self-expressive like paint on my face and on other people's faces. I find that
in real life,
in real, yeah, when I go dancing a lot, or even just by myself, I find it's a fun way to like express how I want to feel about my own beauty, and like how a lot of people like want to express themselves in like self-adornment. And I think that's something that is I don't know, it's something that humans have been doing for the entirety of our existence. And makeup has kind of like morphed it into this gross thing, but in some ways, but I think that we can bring it back as more of a artistic form of expression.
Yeah, that's great. It makes me think that that potentially how we kind of pose for any type of documentation, like photographs or like Instagram posts or whatnot, could really start to change what it is that you're talking about. That trying like that you have to appear a certain way even through no matter what the kind of emotional circumstances are.
Totally.
Because what you're saying makes
social media now, you know, having to put on a face of, you know, feeling happy or being beautiful, even if it's
Yeah. Yes, I feel like that could be absolutely a way that we kind of push that agenda, sharing images of ourselves, actually how it is, actually how we're feeling.
Right.
So if I were to ask you, hey, Julia, how are you feeling? Like, what's your intuitive answer to that?
I mean, today I'm feeling sunny and happy, but you know, yesterday was a different story, you know, like up and downs through COVID for freelance artists.
Do you feel like you're able to express frustration as a woman and it be taken, this is kind of a bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's part of the content for sure.
Totally.
So like maybe if you want to talk a little bit about that experience, how you in everyday life, how you have to potentially mask feelings, or even in terms of like professionality, right? Like
I mean, for sure, yeah. I feel like there's a huge pressure to appear like always put together and like nothing's affecting you, because you want to appear like you can handle everything that anyone has to do in a professional environment, of course. And I do think it's kind of sad that we have to do that, because I mean, I feel like some of our best work can come from like working through struggle and facing challenges and coming up with interesting solutions, and may not always, you know exactly what you're going to do about a problem before it comes up. But I wish that our society was a little bit nicer about, you know, trusting people to figure things out through the process instead of just assuming that they need to know what they're doing beforehand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I feel like when I ask people questions, whether it's like as an educator or even in interviews, I don't have an expectation that I need people to know the answer for the thing. I'm really interested in people kind of sharing the way they process a question.
Yeah.
That's for me a really interesting aspect of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, can we pull back up the image of Streetwise last year? So the text that was on the side, did you know that was going to be the text that was there? Can you kind of talk us through how you kind of came up with your plan?
Yeah, so it was interesting because Chelsea and Robin wanted to do a piece that was based on activism around climate change, and so they chose to do the Greta Thunberg and I think her name was Autumn Peltier for obviously the climate change activists and then the water activists, and that quote by Greta Thunberg that says, "The eyes of all future generations are upon you." And since the theme of my piece was a little bit different, I thought it would be cool to tie that in, you know, through what the actual quote is saying about, you know, the eyes of future generations are looking upon you. So I thought that was a cool way to tie in those two different themes together.
Yeah, I think it ties in very well. The idea that the choices that we make and the things that we choose to put our resources and energy behind are what change the future. That's what the future is going to look back on. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many issues that like we can choose to focus on, and there are just a couple of them that, you know, future generations are going to be judging us on our actions.
Are there on the website that Leah can access, are there some of your works that you think are kind of important to your progress as an artist that you would like to share?
That's interesting. Well, I mean, the one that you already shared of Crush Walls was my real
Mm-hmm.
spray painted mural, and
Mm-hmm.
that was an exciting thing because the only spray paint work that I had done before that was in that basement, and I only did the eclipse with the spray paint. So I kind of just showed up to Crush Walls and got my box of spray paint and was like, gonna work this out. And just getting to.
Did you have a?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, did you have a point in the process as you're saying that you're like, oh man, I bit off more than I can chew with this material?
I mean, I was expecting to feel like that, so I think I wasn't too surprised when it happened. I think it was the first real day where, you know, we're starting from top to bottom, so I'm, you know, 16 feet high on this ladder, like very close to the wall, trying to like learn to use spray paint and like not being able to back up and look at what I'm doing. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like scared on top of this ladder, like working on this. I don't know how to use this medium, like so difficult, you know, but over the next couple of days, I really got the hang of it. So I feel like I really enjoy kind of throwing myself into situations where you're forced to learn really fast. I feel like that's kind of where the best learning ends up happening, and I like kind of the challenge and discomfort that brings a lot of the time. So yeah, that piece was definitely something that really changed, you know, how I was working into how I'm working now, which is wonderful.
That sounds to me like a great approach towards kind of an unknown future that we all kind of share now, right?
Yeah.
Like we kind of walk towards it, even though we're not quite sure what we're doing, how to do it, but we know it's kind of the right thing.
Yeah, and also just being confident in your own abilities to solve problems and take on challenges, and knowing that even if you don't have the answer right now, like you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, being put through the fire, it I don't know, it brings out a lot of creativity, and it's exciting and wonderful, and you never know what the solution is going to be before you you know, get in there. So
Yeah, oftentimes we're not even totally sure of what the question or problem is.
right. Yeah.
Right. That seems to always change too. You talked in the beginning about your like life as a designer as well, or like being a designer.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can say to younger artists who are trying to kind of find a way to find that balance between kind of commercial work and kind of more personal work? And I have a lot of students that that struggle with that boundary and how to place themselves and all of that.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that when I was wanting to go into a creative career, I just wanted to make sure that I would be able to make a living, and so I didn't even really consider just being an artist. I was like, you know, I need to be like more stable about this and do commercial work. So I don't know if I had really thought that being an artist was like super viable, maybe I would, you know, try that at first. But I'm so grateful that I went the design route because of that, I got a lot of business experience that I don't think I ever would have gotten if I had just gone the art route at first. And a lot of the stuff that I've done in design has been really, really wonderful in informing what I do now, in terms of like problem solving and, you know, composition, color, like what is going to communicate the best. having that design background has really given me a lot of foundation to stand on, and yeah, and also just being able to, you know, have kind of a career before this that allowed me to explore different parts of myself that maybe I wouldn't have had, you know, the financial stability or time to explore if I was only working on my artistic work. So, you know, I like,
what's an example of that?
so I got super into outdoor stuff like climbing and canyoneering, but then I also got really into dancing and going to festivals and all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like just having the opportunity to like get so many hobbies and get so many creative inputs has really, really strongly influenced the art that I make, and like the want and desire to make the type of art that I'm making now. So yeah, I would definitely say my career as a designer like really has laid the foundation for all parts of what I'm doing now, and I'm super grateful for that. And I also think there's a huge benefit to working with other creatives super closely and collaboratively for in design projects, where you're getting like feedback from people who know what they're talking about all the time, and you know, you're getting better and better. And I feel like it might be hard if you're more isolated starting out to get that feedback.
In terms of collaboration, could you talk a little bit about some of the things that people should know when going into collaborations? I've done a bit of collaboration myself, and I know that there's hard ones and easy ones and everything in between. So I don't know if you have anything to share in terms of, because I think collaboration is so important in terms of community and mentorship and all of those things that you're sharing. But I wonder, in terms of mentorship, like what are the things that you would want to tell your younger self before you started collaborating with people?
I think telling myself, you know, to continue to like be true to the art that I want to make, but also be super open to what the other person's vision is, and like not trying to like totally, you know, steer the direction of the piece in one way or another, and just being super, I don't know, super open and able to take everyone's ideas and put them into something creatively. And just knowing that, you know, this is your art, but it also belongs to everyone, so it's going to be something that you could never make on your own. And like, that's super beautiful and such a cool opportunity, you know. Yeah.
Leah, the question you have about the last question?
Yeah. So
that would be a good question.
Yeah, we're wondering, who would you consider to be some of your strongest influences?
So let's see. Some of my favorite muralists that I've discovered in the past year or so include Carly Ely. Have you guys heard of her? She does work that's also like very beautiful, bright colors, lots of portraits, lots of animals, and I just love how dynamic her pieces are and how well she integrates, you know, nature, but also people. I love that so much. I really like Arlen Graff, who does those super, super bright colored animals that are kind of geometric. Those are wonderful. Miles Toland, who does those, it's often people with a kind of mandala-y themes around them. Yeah, I would say that those are probably my biggest influences right now.
How about outside of the visual arts? Who are some of the other kind of, I don't know if heroes is the right word, but kind of heroes in any other aspect of your experience?
Oh, that's interesting.
The reason why I asked that is because earlier you talked about the kind of having influence from like having experiences before you kind of go into the studio.
Yeah.
Like learn what your other interests are, and I feel like that's so helpful for younger artists to know that you're not going to learn art. You're going to learn art making, but you're not going to learn the content. You have to kind of live to kind of earn that content. So I guess I'm curious, who are the other humans that are inspiring to you outside of art making?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I am a huge fan of Alex Honnold, who is the climber who free soloed El Cap. Yeah, that kind of dedication and just amazing fearlessness is super, super inspiring. Yeah, I would say he's a big one. And also like Conrad Anker, who's a famous mountaineer, you know, these guys that go into the wilderness and do the hardest things. And it's, yeah, just super inspiring. I'm also excited by, there's a few people that run a company called Poetic Kinetics that makes super large installations for festivals. They did like this giant astronaut for Coachella and like that kind of stuff, and just the enormity of the stuff that they're making and like how much it affects people is really inspiring to me. So yeah.
And that seems to fall in line with kind of mural making, right? It's kind of large, ambitious, and encapsulating.
Yeah, and I would love to eventually, you know, get into more than 2D walls, you know, some 3D or installation type stuff. So looking at people who do that kind of work is always really exciting to me.
Yeah, because even with the eclipse, the way that you describe that starts to be like what we're calling 2 plus, 2D plus.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's such a opportunity for creating environments, like immersive environments, you know, Meow Wolf style, that really transport people or really make them feel things that are totally new experiences. And I think getting to make that for someone and getting to have them feel that is just so cool.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for your time. This has been great. I'm sure the viewers will enjoy kind of learning about your Haiti. So with this video, we'll have a link of some of the things that you're talking about here, the artists that you're interested in, and some of the stuff you're mentioning. We'll have that on there for the audience to kind of click on. So thank you for taking time with us today, and good luck with everything in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Julia.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.